We certainly want to see banks succeed in this new world order.
Of information about how crypto really works. And I think it does a disservice to responsible actors like Ripple who are working with governments, with sanctions. Everything that is enforced from a sanction point of view through fiat currency, anything that Ripple does is enforced in the exact same way. So there's no different level playing field. And I think in some ways I heard Senator Warren saying things yesterday that felt like it's holding crypto to a different standard and expecting, for example, a blanket ban of all crypto in some of these countries in a way that, like, well, you can still use PayPal, you can still use these, some of these other things, and I don't think we should treat them differently.
Ripple is like Swift, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, Ripple's starting point, kind of our first use case for the technology, the blockchain technology, right, and the digital asset XRP was to solve that cross-border payments problem.
Right.
Swift is quite antiquated, kind of designed 50 years ago. It's slow. It's expensive. But it is a choke point that the governments use to enforce sanctions. My point is nothing that Ripple is doing circumvents any of that.
So you're following the sanctions exactly? Like, for example, it's like, 8 banks, but a couple can still trade through it theoretically?
Correct. The sanctions are applied through what I'll call the choke points, the on-ramps and off-ramps. That's true for Swift. That's true for Ripple. Regardless of what I'll call just the plumbing of how things are moving, the choke points are the endpoints. So I think, when I step back and look at this, I think there is a lack of knowledge. I think people need to understand that crypto isn't this kind of black box. It's kind of back from when it was known as Silk Road. The industry has come along. People don't realize is there's just not enough liquidity.
Yeah.
Russia used to trade pre-sanctions $50 billion of cross-border kind of transactions per day. Crypto does not have anywhere near that. So, look, in the same way that somebody could be taking wheelbarrows of rubles or the Ukrainian currency across to Poland and things, like, there are ways you could do that, but it's really not significantly dissimilar.
Why are they so obsessed with it then? It's like so weird.
I think it's a kind of clickbait. It's a hot item. I think people it adds a relevance and excitement around some of these things. But I think people don't understand.
Standard. At some point, he's going to have to go after Ether as well, because Ether and Ethereum are those two very similar paths, just like XRP and Ripple, are they not?
Look, I think that's absolutely true. I don't want to comment on what they should or shouldn't do. I think as it relates to Ethereum, my view is it's very clear Ethereum's a currency. It's very clear XRP is a currency, and that the SEC. I mean, he was interviewed yesterday. Gary Gensler was, or maybe it was even this morning, and commented that, hey, we're going to lose some cases. This is the definition of regulation by enforcement.
He was going to lose. You think he's saying he's going to lose your case?
I don't know what he was saying. I think but he did say, hey, we're going to lose some, and we're okay with that. That's the definition.
Where are you on the case? Let's get an update.
The quick update, on Monday was the last day of expert testimony, expert depositions, etc. And so the case continues to move forward. We're expecting some decisions from the court, sooner rather than later as it relates to a couple of decisions before the court. But look, it's moved slowly. I think Gary Gensler has continued to kind of go with a narrative that crypto is the Wild West. It's not the Wild West. Are there bad actors? Yes, there's bad actors in all parts of...
bad actors in money laundering and U.S. dollars.
Right. I found it fascinating from reading the documents for all the stuff they said about how bad it was that you did an unregistered securities. They never say anything bad about your platform. Why is that? I mean, because it's
of course, bad. Well, the irony there is, like, we were in the SEC's offices. I met with Chairman Clayton. I was meeting with commissioners. No one ever once said, hey, we think XRP is a security. And then they look backwards and say, now we think it's all a security. That's all.
We certainly want to see banks succeed in this new world order.
Welcome to the Cryptoteacher. And guys, I come back with that video just to make you think. And guys, we have the Ripple movie continues. We have Brad Garlinghouse on Fox Business. Speaking of Ripple and XRP, guys, we already know Finn Senate already fined him. This is all part of the movie, all part of the script. And this lady must have been reading a script because she said Ether and Ethereum. Like it's not the same. But we know Ripple has been working with the central banks from the beginning. What has Brad Garlinghouse said time and time again? He wants the new world order to succeed. And then, guys, we have the greatest producer of all time. Not Steven Spielberg or George Lucas or Quentin Tarantino, Spike Lee. No, we have Steve Mnuchin coming back. And he's going to be the best producer of all time of the World War III. And we only one cyber attack away. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
The previous conversations, Mr. Secretary, about Bitcoin that we had, and I don't know whether it got, you probably don't, your life doesn't depend on Twitter, but when you talked about Bitcoin being really purely used for nefarious purposes, a lot of people said, look, there hasn't been any Bitcoin for thousands of years, and there's been a lot of nefarity going on with cash. I'm just wondering, now we've seen Bitcoin run up on what's happening in Russia as they're having possibly some trouble using the normal routes, and maybe Bitcoin is being used. Do you still view it that way, as almost something that's morally wrong because of the bad uses, or have you come around to where you see it might have inherent value because it's got a fixed amount and can't be inflated?
Well, let me separate the issues, and I don't think this is a moral issue. And you're right. Early on, I thought there were a lot of illicit activities for Bitcoin. I think right now there are a lot of legitimate uses of Bitcoin. I mean, there are institutions that are buying Bitcoin because they perceive it as a hedge against inflation or other things. I personally don't agree with that, but that's something if they want to do. My issue always has been on Bitcoin is Bitcoin needs to be compliant with our BSA and our anti-money laundering rules, and it's not. So before I left, I put out proposed regulations that said Bitcoin should be treated like cash. If you're sending money to an unhosted wallet, which means you don't know the identity, and it's over $10,000, you should have to file a currency transaction report, which is no different than what a bank does with cash. Those regulations are sitting with the Biden administration. Particularly now, I would encourage the Department of Treasury to activate those. I think it's very important. There's no question that Bitcoin can be used for illicit purposes, and there are both good actors and bad actors who are using it today. If the good actors want to use it, it should be regulatory compliant.
Mr. Secretary, thanks for.
When you think about cybersecurity, and I know you've been investing in a number of cybersecurity companies currently, but when you think about what may happen, even over the next several weeks, should we, the U.S. and the West, anticipate that there are going to be major cybersecurity warfare coming from Russia?
Well, let me just say, cyber is an issue I've been focused on for a very long period of time. Back when I was at Goldman Sachs, Hank Paulson saw the importance of technology and asked me to come work with him as part of the executive office, and I was the CIO. So I've been doing this for a long time. In the government, I was responsible for cyber for all of financial services and overseeing the IRS. So I spent a lot of time on these issues, and I do think cyber is the #1 risk for governments and business around the world. It's such a big issue that strategically I focused on it. General Joe Dunford is one of my partners in the business, the former chair of the Joint Chiefs, and almost exclusively what we're focused on right now is national security and cybersecurity.
We got to bite the bullet here. We got to defend the dollar here. We talk about Bitcoin taking over. We got to defend it. We got to defend the dollar.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID 33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.